Wood ash costs nothing. It is the gray powder left at the bottom of every fireplace and wood stove in America after a fire burns out. One small shovel of it, soaked in hot water, produces a clear amber liquid that dissolves grease faster than Dawn. Sand costs nothing. A handful of clean river sand, or a spoonful of ordinary table salt, scrubs baked-on food residue off any pan, any plate, any cast iron surface, without scratching, without chemicals, without foam. Water costs almost nothing. Brought to a rolling boil on any stove, it sterilizes every dish at a temperature no commercial dish soap can match. That is the entire system. Ash, sand, water. 3 materials, 2 of which are literally free, that cleaned every plate, every pot, every fork, and every cup in American households for over 200 years. Before 1940, there was no dish soap aisle. There were no plastic bottles. There was no citrus scent. There was no grease-cutting formula. There was no antibacterial variant. There was nothing to buy because nothing needed to be bought. Every kitchen in every state already had what it needed, sitting in the stove and in the ground. Then, in the span of a single decade after the Second World War, a $4 billion industry was built on the premise that those 3 things did not work. And an entire country believed it. The American dish soap industry generates over $4 billion a year in the United States alone. Globally, the dish care category exceeds $15 billion. Procter & Gamble's Dawn brand alone pulls in over $1 billion annually. One product. One color. One kitchen sink at a time, the average American household spends between $40 and $70 every single year on dish soap. That includes the main bottle, the refill, the concentrated formula, the ultra version, the platinum version, the dishwasher pods, the rinse aid, and the antibacterial hand wash that is simply dish soap with a different label. Count the bottles in your kitchen right now. Most American sinks have at least 2. Most kitchens have 4 to 6 products dedicated solely to dish cleaning. Liquid soap for the sponge, pods for the dishwasher, powder for heavy baked-on messes, rinse aid to prevent spotting, spray for quick cleanups. Every one of them performing a function that was already being performed, for $0 by wood ash in 1910. Over a 40-year household timeline, the average American family sends between $2,000 and $3,000 to the dish soap industry. $3,000, spent on products that did not exist when your great-grandmother was born, solving a problem that had been permanently solved for free since the 1700s. The $0 method has no fragrance, no dye, no surfactant, no preservative, no plastic bottle, no shelf space, no spokesperson, no Super Bowl commercial. It has ash, it has sand, it has boiling water. It has clean dishes in every frontier cabin, every tenement kitchen, every farmhouse, and every urban apartment in American history until the day Tide's chemistry division decided grease could be profitable. The reason you have never washed a plate with ash is not because the method failed. The entire chemistry of what soap exists came from ash. Soap, all soap, every bar and every bottle ever manufactured, is made by reacting fat with lye. And lye is made by pouring water through wood ash. Your great-grandmother skipped the middleman. She used the ash water directly. It worked better, cost nothing, and required no packaging. The $4 billion industry cannot exist if you do that. That is the entire business model. Selling you the middle step of a process your ancestors completed for free. Before 1945, the word detergent meant almost nothing to the average American consumer. Soap was soap. It was made from rendered animal fat, lye from wood ash and water. It had been made that way since Babylon, 2,800 years before Christ. It had been made that way in colonial American kitchens for every year of the country's existence. Then came the Second World War. Animal fats became strategically scarce during the war years. The military needed tallow and glycerin for explosives, lubricants, and rations. Soap production was restricted. In 1943, German chemists working on petroleum derivatives developed the first practical synthetic surfactant, a molecule that mimicked soap's grease-lifting properties, but was made from crude oil byproducts instead of rendered fat. American chemical companies seized the technology after the war. Procter & Gamble, Colgate, Palmolive, and Lever Brothers had massive post-war petroleum supply contracts. They had the infrastructure, the distribution, and the advertising budgets. In 1946, Procter & Gamble's laboratories began converting the synthetic laundry surfactant in Tide into a dish-specific formulation. In 1950, Joy launched the first mass-market liquid dish soap. In 1952, Palmolive followed. By 1960, The American dish soap market was a billion-dollar category that had not existed 15 years earlier. The campaign to eliminate the ash method was not a single event. It was a decade of sustained advertising, product placement, and home economics curriculum revision. In 1948, Procter & Gamble began sponsoring daytime radio and television programming aimed at housewives. By 1955, the company was spending the inflation-adjusted equivalent of over $900 million a year on soap advertising. Every commercial reinforced the same message. Modern dishes require modern chemistry. Ash was primitive. Sand was crude. Boiling water was inefficient. The University of Wisconsin's chemistry department conducted comparative testing in 1953 between potassium hydroxide solution, the exact compound produced when water filters through wood ash, and the leading synthetic dish detergents of the period. The ash-derived solution cleaned heavy animal fat residues faster and at lower concentrations than any commercial detergent tested. The findings were published in the Journal of the American Oil Chemists Society. The study was never referenced in a single consumer advertisement, then or since, not banned outright. Just never mentioned again in any home economics curriculum written after 1958. Never printed in any Better Homes and Gardens dishwashing guide after 1961. Never included in any product comparison chart that an American consumer was ever allowed to see. By 1970, the generation that had actually watched their mothers scoop ash out of a stove was aging out of the primary consumer demographic. A new generation had been raised to believe that dishes required a bottle. The knowledge was gone. Not through prohibition, through replacement. The system has 3 components. Every one of them is either already in your home or available for $0. Here is exactly how each one works, why it outperforms the commercial alternative, and how to use it. 1. Ash water. Also called lye water or lixivium, wood ash from a hardwood fire, oak, maple, ash, beech, or hickory, contains roughly 10 to 15% potassium carbonate and potassium hydroxide. Softwood ash works but contains less of these active compounds. To produce ash water, place 2 cups of cold hardwood ash into a clean glass or enamel container. Pour 1 gallon of hot water over it. Stir once. Let it sit for 24 hours. Pour the clear amber liquid off the top, leaving the sediment behind. That clear liquid is your cleaning solution. The chemistry is direct. Potassium hydroxide is a strong alkali. When it contacts fat or grease, it triggers a process called saponification. The same process used to make every bar of soap ever manufactured. The alkali breaks the triglyceride molecules in fat into free fatty acids, which then bond with the potassium to form soap molecules, right there on the plate. The grease does not get washed off. The grease becomes soap, which then rinses away in water. Commercial dish soap works through surfactants, molecules with a water-loving end and a grease-loving end that surround the grease and suspend it in water. Surfactants are effective but require manufactured chemistry and leave detectable residue on food surfaces. Ash water is chemically simpler, biologically older, and produces no synthetic residue. The grease is literally converted into an edible soap salt. For everyday dishes, dip a cloth or natural fiber brush into the ash water, scrub the plate or pan, and rinse with hot water. A half gallon of ash water will wash approximately a week of dishes for a family of 4. The sediment left behind at the bottom of the container can be composted or used in the garden. Potassium is a primary plant nutrient, one material. $0. Replaces liquid dish soap, dishwashing concentrate, and degreasing spray. That is 3 products eliminated. 2. Sand or salt scrub. For baked-on food, dried grease, or carbon residue on cast iron and heavy cookware, a mechanical scrub is required. For 2 centuries, that scrub was either clean river sand or coarse salt. Both work on the same principle. A hard, fine-grained mineral physically abrades the residue without scratching the pan. The science is simple. Cast iron has a Mohs hardness of approximately 4. Enamel-coated surfaces rate around 6. Stainless steel rates 5.5. Table salt has a hardness of 2 to 2.5. Clean silica sand rates 7, but the individual grains are so small they polish rather than gouge. Both materials remove residue without damaging the cookware underneath. To use salt, sprinkle a generous handful of coarse salt into a warm, empty pan. Add a tablespoon of water or a small amount of cooking oil. Scrub with a cloth, a wooden spatula, or the cut side of a half lemon. The salt lifts burned-on food within 30 seconds. Rinse with hot water. For cast iron specifically, this method is superior to dish soap because it preserves the seasoning, the polymerized oil layer that gives cast iron its non-stick surface, commercial dish soap strips that seasoning every single wash. To use sand, rinse a half cup of clean, fine sand under running water to remove dust. Use it as a scouring agent for heavily crusted pots, outdoor cookware, or cast iron over an open fire. Pioneer and frontier households use this method universally. One material, $0, replaces dish scrubbing powder, cast iron cleaner, and baked-on food remover. That is another 3 products eliminated. 3. Boiling water. This is the simplest and most overlooked element of the entire pre-1940 dishwashing system. Water at a rolling boil, 212 degrees Fahrenheit at sea level, sterilizes surfaces more completely than any commercial antibacterial dish soap. The Food and Drug Administration's own commercial kitchen sanitation standards require dishes to be rinsed at a minimum of 171 degrees Fahrenheit to qualify as sanitized. Every health department in the country uses this standard. Boiling water exceeds that threshold by over 40 degrees. No commercial dish soap sterilizes a plate at room temperature, regardless of what the label says. Heat kills bacteria. Soap removes grease. The industry merged the 2 concepts in its advertising to justify a premium price. The Depression-era method was simple. After scrubbing dishes with ash water and salt, the final rinse was a pour of boiling water directly from a kettle over each plate and utensil. The dishes air-dried in a rack or on a clean cloth. They were sterile, they were streak-free. They required no rinse aid, no jet dry, and no additional chemistry. For modern kitchens, keep a kettle or pot of water at a near boil on the stove while washing. Rinse each item with the boiling water. Stack to dry. The entire process takes no more time than using dish soap, and it sanitizes at a higher temperature than any commercial product. One material. Roughly 4 cents of stove gas or electricity per meal. Replaces every antibacterial, sanitizing, or sterilizing dish product on the market. That is 4 more products eliminated, 3 components. $0 in materials. 10 commercial dish products replaced. The full process looks like this. Fill 1 basin with ash water. Fill a second basin with plain hot water for rinsing. Keep a kettle of boiling water on the stove. Scrub heavily soiled pans with salt first. Wash all dishes in the ash water basin. Rinse in the hot water basin. Pour boiling water over the final stack. Air dry, 20 minutes. $0. 0 plastic. 0 residue. 0 industry. The chemistry has not changed in 400 years. The only thing that has changed is who profits from it. Walk into any farmhouse kitchen in Indiana in 1935. Any tenement in Brooklyn in 1928. Any sharecropper's cabin in Mississippi in 1932. Any coal mining row house in West Virginia in 1940. You would find the same 3 things. A hardwood stove with ash in the bottom. A jar of coarse salt on a shelf. A kettle on the heat. Dishes were washed 3 times a day. Every day, for decades, in every state, in every climate, in every economic class. The system worked in wealthy homes and in homes where the weekly income was less than $5. It worked during fat years and during famine. It worked on cast iron, porcelain, tin, pewter, and the earliest mass-produced ceramics. It worked because the chemistry is fundamental. The Romans cleaned their dishes with lye extracted from wood ash. The practice is documented by Pliny the Elder in the 1st century. Japanese households in the Edo period used a fine volcanic ash called kuroboku for scouring lacquerware, a method still used by traditional craftsmen today. Scandinavian farmers in Norway and Sweden washed their dishes in hot water filtered through birch ash through the entire Industrial Revolution, ignoring commercial soap until the 1960s. The Finns called the process läpiäkäsittely. Lye treatment. It was taught to every child. During the Dust Bowl years, Oklahoma and Kansas families who lost everything still had clean dishes. Not because they were frugal, because there was nothing to buy and nothing needed to be bought. The ash from the dinner fire cleaned the dishes that cooked the next dinner. A closed loop. 0 waste. 0 cost. It was the oldest continuous domestic technology in human history. 10,000 years of use. Erased in 1 decade of television advertising. Replaced with a plastic bottle and a scented liquid that your great-grandmother would not have recognized as cleaning at all. For $0, using 3 materials that are already in your home or your yard, you can eliminate every dish soap product in your kitchen. Starting tonight. No transition period. The same chemistry that cleaned colonial American plates will clean yours after dinner. The complete system, including ash-water ratios, salt scrub techniques, cast iron care, sanitization protocols, and the full pre-industrial dishwashing method, is linked in the description below. It covers every kitchen surface, every cookware material, and every level of soil, from a light rinse to baked on carbon. Tomorrow, this channel will show you the exact Depression-era bug killer that works in 10 minutes, costs nothing, and eliminates the need for every pest control service in America. The industry that bills $23 billion a year to spray your home does not want you to learn this one. Every product in your home once had a $0 version. They buried it. Now you know.